Welcome to the first week of DevToberfest. I hope you guys enjoyed the previous session that we had earlier. So today in this session, we're going to get your Eclipse ADT installed. Now, if you're new to ABAP or the ABAP community or just SAP ecosystem, this right here is the session for you. Now, we're going to go over a few things on the agenda for today. Now, so we're going to talk about what is ABAP. So if you're new to the SAP ecosystem, we're just new overall to just ABAP in general. So I'm just going to give you what is ABAP, like what it is, give you a little bit of info on it, why you should learn it as a developer, and how to develop on ABAP. And then we're going to go into the download installation process where Tom is going to help us out with right there. So you're going to install your Eclipse ADT, and then we're going to jump into creating a trial user account with SAP BTP. And then you're going to create an ABAP cloud project. And then once we're done, we're going to create our first Hello World. So that's going to be how our session will be today. And thank you, Tom, for being able to do this with us. Unfortunately, I'm unable to do it. So he'll be able to guide you right after we finish just the overview, and then we'll go into the download installation. So let's get started. So you're probably wondering, if you're new, what is ABAP? ABAP stands for Advanced Business Application Programming. ABAP is a programming language that runs in SAP runtime. It's usually used by SAP for the development of applications, and it is the solid long-time foundation for SAP's solution portfolio, as you can see here. So we're going to be going over how the programming language works, and then going to why you should learn ABAP. Why should I learn ABAP? Now, for me, one of the advantages I found with ABAP is the ability to have all the tools for the whole development lifecycle integrated into one place and a part of the server. So there's no need for a separate system, and you don't have to deal with version management. The server does it for you. You always use the latest sources. Also, then compatibility becomes very visible early, which is really good. And there's no need for a separate system to test interactions. So those are some of the key things as a developer that you're looking for. And those are some perks that ABAP has for you. Now, let's start with how do you develop in ABAP? And that's mostly what this session will be about for today. So we're going to install the front-end component of ADT, and then we're going to create a trial user account and then get you started, get you into the cloud so you can be able to see how you can develop in there as well. So let's get started. Tom, care to take it away?
Sure, thanks a lot. And I want to say special thanks to Mimiki for joining, even though she's feeling a little under the weather. So I jumped in here to help out with the demo portion. But thanks a lot for coming on and doing your DevToberfest session, even though you aren't feeling terribly well.
I couldn't miss it.
So I think the first site that you're going to want to be sure to go to for when it comes to installing is go to tools.hana.ondemand.com and then go to the ABAP tab. And this is going to have all the prerequisites, the technical prerequisites, and the installation instructions for installing and running ABAP development tools, as well as some other important links of getting started, like getting your ABAP trial on the SAP BTP environment. We'll talk more about that in a second. The ABAP Git plugin, all these things that you're going to want. So let me go ahead and put this link in the chat as well. So that's the first one that we're going to talk about here. And if we look at these instructions, of course, you're going to need an Eclipse platform. That's the first thing that we're going to want to go get and install. I also want to check here at version 11, 17. Okay, so we want to go get Eclipse, right? Get an installation of Eclipse. There's a link here to download it. I can just open that in another tab. And it's got the Eclipse installer. I usually do Eclipse IDE for Java developers. I'm running on Windows, so choose the right link for the platform that you're on. So I would click that, and it would start the download. Now, the only thing is, I did the download the other day. Right there, it is already in my downloads folder, just to save us a couple minutes this morning of you not having to sit here and watch the download progress bar, although it was relatively fast. So imagine that I had just downloaded that and it's completed. And then we will start the Eclipse installation process. So just kicking that off. A second, start up. And of course, it's over on my other monitor. Once it's fully up here, there. Now I'll be able to move it over. Here, of course, if you want to do some other development, say you're also a PHP developer or you're C++ developer, you can choose one of these other options as well. But I'm just going to go with Eclipse for Java developers, even though I don't do Java development. Never been accused of doing Java development. So I just need to get the base install with the basic features there, and then I can add ABAP into it. So I'll just choose the smallest, easiest of the options. We can go with the built-in Java 17. And now where do I want to install it? So now it's going to this, on my machine, going to the C developer, SAP develop Eclipse folder, because that's where I've done previous installs, and it's kind of smart enough to know to kind of nest them here. And actually, if we look here, I've got under Eclipse, I've got already a Java 2022-09 installation, and it's wanting to lay another one in the side of it. Now, if I remember right, the default was actually to go to my my user area in Windows to instead try to put it where was that? It would have gone to like C users and then my user account, and then it was wanted to propose a folder inside here. Now I chose to put it in another folder. That is where I put a lot of my development stuff by personal choice. My user folder is joined with OneDrive here at SAP. That's the way we have it set up, and everything's backed up that way, which is nice if you maybe move between machines and you want things backed up automatically. But I actually find that hurts performance on some things, so that's why I like to put everything in this separate folder. And you'll notice I've got other tools in here, like this is where I put my VS Code installation, XSA client, my Git workspace. I put it all in this folder. So I'm just going to keep that there, and yeah, we can create a start menu entry, a desktop shortcut if we want. That's all fine. We'll go ahead and start the installation, and this won't take too terribly long. So, doing the full installation. It's good to have a nice cup of coffee for sipping during live installations on live streams. Oh, that's good to know. The installation process is taking longer than normal. It's a smart installer to tell us that. All right, it's still going. The other day, of course, when you're testing, it goes like no time at all. And when you're doing it live, it takes just a little bit longer. There we go. Now it's moving again. It's a good sign. Installation completed successfully. And let's go ahead and launch it. It won't have my ABAP tools in it yet, but it will in a moment. It's going to be just a clean installation of Eclipse, which it actually opened in my other window. And it wants to know what Eclipse workspace do I want to go into. This is also going to my user folder, and I'm going to browse and choose a different place to put my workspace. Is where it stores all the configuration, projects, things like that. So actually, I'm going to go to the same SAP develop, but you choose where you want to store these. I don't want to overwrite my other workspaces. It's probably not normal that you would have so many separate workspaces, but I set up to demo this multiple times, hence the extra workspaces, so I can do this clean each time. Let's just go here to this folder. Yeah, I'll be safe. Normally, you'd probably just go with the defaults and go into the suggested workspace. But like I said, I want to demo what this would look like for somebody doing this for the first time. So I'm going to start fresh with a clean new workspace. And it's actually starting up. The little dialogue of starting Eclipse is over on my default window, which is not the one that I'm streaming from, but I'll drag it over there. Starts up, we've got the Eclipse tooling with Java development. And actually, I like to show the text of my workspace. So I've got Java development. I don't want to do Java development though, but I've got my my starting point here with the basic Eclipse. Now I can come back here and just like this says in Eclipse, you go to help install new software, and we give it the URL of where we want to go get that software. So I'm just going to grab this URL that comes back to tools at HANA on demand and help install new software. I'll go ahead and put that site in, and we're going to add it as an update site. ABAP development tools. And there it went out and it saw, yes, it's got ABAP development tools, a couple different options that you can install. I want everything, of course, even though I probably don't need all of them. But hey, if there's an ABAP tool there, why not have it? Calculating the dependencies, and we can say we can accept the terms and then finish. We'll give that a minute to do its install. Hopefully it won't get too hung up here either. There we are, and we have to restart now. And once again, it's starting up in on my other monitor, but just a second here after it gets through the startup, drag it back over. Because the other thing that I want to install is I want to install ABAP Get. Yes, we'll let that open links. So we see release notes for ABAP, although I'm still in the Java project because that's my perspective that is set. You can come up here and click add or open a perspective. And I want to open the ABAP perspective to at least get me started. That's the one that I'm going to work in most of the time. And now I can get rid of this nasty Java perspective and only have my ABAP perspective. And all is right with the world now. Before we create a project, let's go ahead and do the one other optional install that if you want to use ABAP Get for using Git to sync sources between multiple systems, we can add that as well. It's got its own update site. We'll just copy that link. So here's the other update site. And we'll do the same process that we used to add the ABAP development tools. We'll just say help install new software. And we'll add another update site. Add that. ABAP Git. And we'll add the ABAP Git tools. Take long. Set the terms. Finish. Yes, I'm okay. I trust it. And we're restarting. Now, the only thing while that restarts, and take a second, is you obviously need an ABAP account, an ABAP system to connect to. These are just the front end development tools. They take the place of the SAP GUI largely for doing ABAP development. There it is, already back. But before you have a system, if you don't have a system at your workplace that you can or want to use, we do have an ABAP environment available as part of SAP BTP. It has the latest functionality in the ABAP environment. You can try out wrap and the other steampunk functionality. So there is a tutorial here that is also one of the tutorials that you can do to earn points in the Devtoberfest contest. So I would recommend, if you don't have access to an ABAP system, this is a great way to get started. You can onboard to the trial environment. I'm not going to go through the whole onboarding process right now. It takes a few minutes to sign up for an account, and I'd have to put in a personal email address and stuff like that, because my SAP account is already has an account and things like that. But here's the tutorial that would help you get started. But I've got an ABAP instance already provisioned in BTP. So I'm just going to come here and I'm going to say create an ABAP cloud project. And you've got a couple different options. This is one of the newest options. If you're using S/4HANA in the cloud and you have embedded Steampunk enabled, there's a URL that you can put in here to connect to the ABAP instance that is part of that S/4HANA system. But if you're using ABAP Steampunk standalone on BTP, then you'd use the second option. And we can either connect with a downloaded service key, or you can connect using your Cloud Foundry credentials. Let me show you this option, then I'll come back and show you how you can get the service key as well. So we'll just go forward here. It's asking me for the region. So you have to know which region that your BTP environment is set up in. I'm using US East. That sets the URL automatically. And then I can put in my credentials. And then you choose your organization. Now, my account has access to multiple organizations, including a trial account, as well as some other organizations. The one with our ABAP Steampunk instance is right here. And then you choose your space. No drop. No, really having problems with the drop down today. There, finally got it. And then you choose the instance. Now, of course, these values would be different depending upon your own environment, what you name things. If you're working in trial, you'd have a single organization, a single space automatically created for you, and then whatever you name the service instance. This happens to be what we named ours. And then you just go ahead and click next, and it's connecting automatically, and it's asking me to log in. So I do log in a browser. Our system has multiple identity providers connected to it, so I have to choose which one I want to use. I'll just choose default identity provider, and it's using single sign-on to log me in. And there we are. I hit finish, and I'm connected to the ABAP system. Now, just real quick, I told you I'd show you the other way, that if I were to go into the BTP cockpit directly, I just pull up my ETP cockpit. And as I said, this is our team's account. So we've got a lot of sub accounts in here. If you were using the trial, you may have a much simpler view to things. You may just have one sub account. But here's our sub account where we created our ABAP Steampunk instance. And if I come in here and I go to instances and subscriptions, there's many things in here, but the ABAP environment is right here. And what you can do if you want to get the service key is you create a service key. and we named ours SAP ADT, a special service key just for connecting with the ABAP development tools. And then you download this file. You download this as a file. And that's the other little radio button option that I had there when I was creating an ABAP project, is I could have chose the connect with JSON definition, and that's exactly what it's looking for. Then you would just upload that file, and it would connect you straight away. It wouldn't ask you for your org and your space and those other questions that it asked me when it was logging in. It's kind of like, okay, so do I want to log into the cockpit and download that information, or do I want to log in interactively in the development tools and let it go fetch that same information basically dynamically? All right. So now that I am connected, we said, well, let's take a look at creating a hello world. Just here, we want to create a new class. Of course, the experience is a little bit different if you're used to only using SAP GUI and SE80. World. Oh. The major difference here. So ask me for a transport. Everything that's good. Is we have to use the source code based editor. There's no form based editor for the class definition and interaction. That's probably the thing that when people are new to the ABAP development tools that maybe throws them off the most. The other thing that if you're using Steampunk, the SAP BTP version of ABAP, or the version of ABAP that is embedded in S/4HANA Cloud, is there's no SAP GUI. So even how we test run programs has to change. It has to adapt to running only in the ABAP development tools natively. So for instance, in order to do the even a hello world, we're going to go about it a little differently. I'm going to come here and I'm going to add an interface. I can never remember. IFO ADT. I always leave off the OO. IFO ADT. What did I do? There we are. And class run. So this interface is going to add a method to our class. Use the quick fix there to add the method for me. This method is going to be called automatically when I run the class, and it's got the interface of this method passes in this out object, and it's got this write method on it where we can pass data into it, and it will output it to the console. The console being a new construct that's available here in the ABAP development tool. So instead of doing write statements and then going out to the SAP GUI, we use this special interface and we do write to put output to the console. So let me just go ahead and send something out here. Hello world. There we are. There's my hello world. I will activate the class. And I just want to add the console actually. List. All right, where's the ABAP console? Preview. And now if I execute this with an F9, I think, let's see it here, run as ABAP application console. So that's designed to run the application in the ABAP development tools and use these outright statements and put them into the console. So if I do an F9, there we see in the console here in ABAP development tools, hello world. And I think, oh, somebody asked me to increase the font size. And, and I had my font size set larger, but then I did a new, when I was demoing this morning, but then I did a new installation. And of course, I lost that setting, didn't I? Sorry about that. And I lost the shortcut that had a keyboard shortcut tied to the zoom in and zoom out as well. And I lost that with the new installation because I did a fresh workspace, so it would be all clean, like a first installation, because I wanted to demo it that way to everybody. But that did mean that I lost my settings of how I had made my editor font larger. Sorry about that. There's a question there about what is the ABAP get used for? Good question. We can use ABAP get to move sources between different systems, or as we often use it, to like push ABAP source code out to GitHub to share with all of you. So if you want to use that, you would come here and we would add that view. Git. And it's seeing which packages in this particular system are configured to go to a Git repository. And there's the external Git repository. So for instance, here, like the OO basics, okay, to clipboard. Okay, I did not. Took more what I wanted, but I just wanted the URL, but that will work. So here's the source code on the web in GitHub for this ABAP package. And all the classes are available, and ABAP Git will help you sync the sources to a Git repository, bring them back into a system, install them if they've never been put in the system. So you have the ability to push and pull from that Git repository. That extra add-in is what adds these tools to the ABAP development tool environment to allow you to interact with a Git repository using ABAP Git. So good way to share sources in an open source manner. All right, I think that's most of the questions that we've had. Just checking here, back a little bit. There was somebody that asked, I had installed Eclipse before and received errors using the check updates option. I ended up uninstalling Eclipse to start over. Is that a common fix? I can't say if that's a common. I've not had that problem, so I couldn't say. Although I quite often will do a fresh installation. Maybe it was that your the version of Eclipse was maybe too old and it no longer matched the required version of the ABAP development tools. Sometimes you do get dependency issues if that's the case. And if you come back out here, you'll see prerequisite certain ABAP Eclipse platforms are required. And where is it? Yeah, and if you maybe had an older Eclipse platform, it couldn't, but yet you were trying to install like the latest ABAP version, 4.2.5, that requires 2209, and maybe that was the issue. That's the only thing I can think of there that might have been causing that offhand. Okay, I think that's the last of the questions and brings us to the end of the demo. Mamiki, did you want to wrap things up for us now?
Yeah, no, you did an amazing job. Thank you for being able to take this. Yeah, so if you guys are looking to get the links to any of these, they're in the chat, and there also are some videos that walk you through them on our developer channel. So look out for those as well.
I think that's the end of today's session. Thanks everybody for joining. Tune in tomorrow for more DevToberfest. We have sessions, at least 2 sessions every day of the week, every day, every work day in the month of October. And join us again next week if you're an ABAP developer. Every Monday in the month is the ABAP topic day. So there's plenty of ABAP content coming your way over the next few weeks as well. So thanks everybody.